the pursuit was never to be the bestest, fastest, whateverest. It was to be the freest, maybe only in your mind, maybe only in my backyard here. By the way, you guys, I am bottomless right now.
Welcome to the Creative Slash Podcast, where we explore what happens when creativity collides with everything else. I'm Brad Woodard, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Dustin Lee. Whether you're an artist looking to grow your following or you're just curious about where creativity can take you, this is your weekly dose of real talk about making it as a creative human. In today's episode, we share an interview with a design folk hero who enjoys thick lines, slinging goods for the people, and touring all around the country in his big orange van. Of course, we're talking about Aaron Draplin. If you've ever attended any creative conferences or poster shows, there is a darn good chance that you have met this man before. Over his career, he's traveled to over 550 different events. And if you still haven't seen him, you probably own one of his wildly popular Field Notes memo books, a company he co-founded back in 2007. We thoroughly enjoyed this wild ride of a conversation with Aaron. He shared so much wisdom about humility, persistence, and just sticking to your guns, all weaved in with things like his inability to kill ants, his absolute disdain for Blink-182, and having a faith crisis at age 9. Keep your hands inside the car, buckle up, and enjoy the ride. Welcome, Aaron Draplin. Thanks for being here. This is definitely the very beginning of this podcast. We didn't edit anything out. Nothing at all. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming. We have lots of questions. We just met up with you, which was kind of serendipitous, and we are very new at the podcast, so it'll be exciting to hear what you have to say. Hopefully this is something unique for you. You talk so much and you get this, you just, not just in general.
Stop right there,
Yeah.
Give me more, Brad. I know.
You know how much you talk. Yeah, no. So let's start with the alien question. Do you believe in aliens? Because I'm especially excited to hear about this one because two reasons. You have that hat that said the Get Cosmic, or the patch that you had, which I remember. But also, I was reading on your website and you had your origin story where you yourself might be an alien. We're not sure because of the whole event in Arizona thing. So I'm curious to hear your stance on aliens and why you believe so.
Okay. There has to be. How dare whatever construct we come up with to give meaning to our, tricky existence, how dare we think we're the only ones? As a little kid who went to Catholic school, catechism and shit, how dare we come up with these goofy things? Well, these are systems of power and control. And then somewhere 2,000 years later, we're all trying to pick up the pieces and go, that goes against what my mom and dad and my grandparents and fuck all that. I went to Rome. I stood there in the Vatican. Well, what's their stance on, creepy priests? You lose faith in this stuff. So if it's up to me to pick my own direction, and I would rather go to the church of maybe even, I'm blanking on his name. The coolest astrophysicist in the game, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Do I go to that church or do I go to the church of, whoever voted in who? So what I would say is, of course there has to be. Eric Mortensen, graphic designer, excavator, digs up dinosaurs. What is that? What's that? We're paleontologists. Is that what that is? Eric Mortensen years ago told me it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it's when they're going to find a microbe on a piece of ice that's been ripping around. It's either going to land here. It might have populated us. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then the sort of very weird cultural and societal implications that go with it. Like, what happens when cute little baby Jesus, do they have that over on planet, the flugelhorn or whatever the hell it is? They don't, who knows? So what happens? Well, famines and scary things and people fighting over, imagine that, people fighting over fucking superstitions. So, to answer your question, by the way, this is a 7-hour podcast. Green Collection DDC. Sorry, you guys. I'll let you guys speak in a minute.
Go ahead.
I don't think they come to Earth and their little green men, I think those are the products of charlatans and creeps who, what's that Jeremy Corbell guy? Give me a fuck, come on, if he wasn't selling snake oil in 1865 on the back of a wagon, he's selling the speculation of, government zims and zams. And I'm just telling you, I'll tell you a fun story. About 7 or 8 years ago, I got a call. What was his name? Tom DeLong. And I'm on the book tour, and I'm on an iPhone in that gas pig, and I'm saying to Tom DeLong, "What did you just say? What you want? Do a logo for To the Stars? Well, sure, maybe, but they're telling you what they're telling you on your iPhone in some San Diego mansion, and I'm in a shitty van. And are they listening? Why do you? What do you? I didn't take the gig. It just freaked me out because that guy hangs his hat on it. Well, none of that shit's happened. So who's full of shit here? So my answer is I want to believe, much like a Sasquatch or a Nessie or a Jersey Devil or a fairly nice and polished Aaron Draplin. These are all mythical things. So did they come here because I listened to your story? Amazing. I don't have anything like that to share, but I think we are caught up in the graininess. Neil deGrasse says, these phones we have. Look at the slime balls on my phone. I've been
nice.
Possible ankle breaking situation to get back into skateboarding. But these phones can read the serial number on a gnat's ball sack from 17 feet away. So how come we haven't found anything better than this grainy stuff through the
footage.
Nut? The FLIR stuff. And I got caught up in that stuff like everybody else, right? But I just think it's a way to sell videos. And then, what's the one guy? Stephen Greer. Well, write it down in your field notes and go just take a look. This guy's full of shit. And he's another one of these creeps who will sell whatever you want. And he can conjure them to come to the desert.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in a desert, shit flickers around you. Satellite, refract, stuff at night. And then, he's got these people hoodwinked into some big, expensive experience to talk to aliens. He's got to deliver. And I just find it creepy. So, it breaks my heart that we're all so susceptible to that. And even susceptible to the point where then it becomes an industry just to go fight people that are making a buck off that. I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
The world is mysterious. Do I think they come here? I don't think they do. Did they, how did we get here? Where do we come from? What's wrong with me? There's all sorts of questions in the world. So I'll stop.
No, that was extremely thorough. And, I actually remember part of what you just said. You had mentioned it to me when we were in, I think it was Design Ranch 2014. When did you do a workshop where you did you did your notes? You did the field notes workshop.
You in Texas for that?
I was, yeah. I used to live in Austin. And I went to, and I remember going to your workshop and we built, the field notes books.
We printed
Yeah. And then you also had your merch always in the corner, and it had that was when you had the Get Cosmic patch. And then I remember asking you about that, and you got me in the corner and you were chatting, and I was just always fascinated by your fascination with it as well. So I remember that vividly. I was like my first interaction with you. We were talking about cosmic stuff.
Where do you go when you sleep? What lets you go to sleep? Well, I'm sure there's a scientific explanation, but it's still mysterious. People are afraid to fall asleep because of all sorts of reasons, but we don't really know why. There's mysteries around us, and you look up. We've been looking up for hundreds of thousands of years, and the distances, the math, and the science, and the reality of we're not going to get to Mars in our lifetime. Things like this. It's this. As a little kid who looked up and was concerned about eternity, because those are constructs being taught to me,
Yep.
in Catholic school, and at least in a catechism on Sundays. But I was that little rat kid, and you should have seen me just disgusting, like a little growth, about 8 years old, but didn't even, a little beard. But I would challenge these very sweet, well-meaning moms who were running the catechism and say, but we just go forever? That logically, it just doesn't make sense. Don't you get tired of it? Don't I mean,
I've had that question. Yeah.
I'm 9 years old. Right? Faith at 9 years old. Other kids are just like drooling, figuring out how to use their speak and spell. No, this is 19. Okay. So, like that. The next thing was MX missiles. How old are you guys?
I'm
44.
39.
Okay. Well, MX missiles. What would be a modern version of it? A Scud missile? Just a snippet that you heard about, like in the Iraq War. Well, they were kind of dumb, and they went up and they, Scud missiles, whatever it was. The MX missile was a nuclear warhead that, there was a space race, there was an arms race, there was an MX missile race, and I got to see this, over shoulders on news, and I was afraid that a MX missile was going to hit Central Lake, Michigan, because at that time, this is the Cold War, and the movie The Day After, if you've seen that, like I wasn't allowed to watch that. Now that's the first time that Americans in the world wrapped their brain around what nuclear war would be like. And then after that, you start to see the movement with, Reagan and Gorbachev and things, the fall, there's a cultural shift there because people saw people with, skin, shit's hanging off their skin, it was a Jason Robards movie. Well, I wasn't allowed to watch it because I was 10 years old or, almost 11 years old in 84. And I wasn't allowed to watch it because my mom and dad knew that it would have really messed with me, Well, that's no different at 51. I worry about these things or hear about these things or think about, genocide somewhere, where, things and stuff. And, what can you do from our little perch here? Well, what I'm getting at is like, there was something manufactured then, and I got caught up in it. So all these years later, I'm trying to be careful with what I allow to get to me.
Got it.
Because if you just look this way and you don't see it, how would you even know? You know what I mean? Which is an interesting kind of thing. So I want to believe, just on a science level, I want to believe in these things. I want to believe in mystery and stuff. And, what if there's other dimensions? How about this? I'll go for all of it. What happens when you die? Maybe you're just a big, I don't step on ants anymore. I don't, like a spider and you give that, some bitch go, however that is. I don't do that anymore. I find him in the house and put him in the jar. I take him outside and be gone, you little son of a bitch, whatever, protectable thing. And then I do that because after my dad died, he was just like a big bug laying there. I was there with him, and it was just like, that's it? Well, that's it. Now, is he in the multiple stages of going on the way up to heaven?
That's interesting you say that too. As I've gotten older, I've gone through some crises of faith, but a lot older, not 9 years old. But it was spurred by my oldest, who was, at that point, I think he was 11. So not far up, but he was having big questions and I was trying to answer them. And the bigger the question and the more I tried to massage it over in a way that I felt like would be comfortable, it started to get a little bit more uncomfortable for myself. Sure. And that, and it was so easy for my whole life, to kind of push that discomfort off and be like, what, doesn't matter. Or here's something we can put over top of that. Here's a blanket we can throw over top of that and be like, God, we're okay. It's God stuff over there. We're good to go.
By the way, you got to do that. That's your job. I mean, I can't liken it to the same, but what do I tell a kid who's never had a job, right? They don't work at 15 and 13 and whatever time you guys start. What do I tell a kid at 19 or 20 years old who's halfway through school, has never had a shitty pizza job? I don't know how to soothe them. much like your boy. Is that your boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my son. Yeah,
this is your kid. It's like, God, these are tricky things. And what it's done to me is it's made me really, really a lot more empathetic. To your friend Clara here. Like she got a job. It's awesome. And that will all start to go. But I meet a lot of kids who don't. And it's just like, oh, what do you say? So there's certain things you learn to be large blanketed answers of positivity, and screw all the conquest and who's the fastest and how do you quit? How do you get to where you're at? Things are going to suck for a while, but that's what I deal with. It's like, and I'm confused. I'm stumped. I like to talk. But it's like, I don't, maybe Brad, I'll come to you and ask you, and you try the same stuff on an 11-year-old technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of us know. So it sounds like, you'd be open to also be a good human being, be good to your, moms and dads and little old ladies and people who need a hand, and be empathetic. These are all basic, I think, just sort of humankind. How about just every being in the world? Like, I don't mess with bees anymore. I don't mess with flies anymore. Just let them, whatever. Because they have souls,
Yeah.
I was just down in Miami. Speaking at this conference for trade show booth designers, right? And they'll hire just about anyone. And I'm down there doing it, and we go to it's about 1,000,000 degrees. And Brad and Dustin, I don't know if you've noticed, maybe you got noticed when you met me, but I tend to tip the scales on the pleasantly plump side of life. And I'm down there sweating like a science project in Miami about a week ago. And when you walk up to the little mixer, on the steps are a skrillion ants. Because when you go up these steps to this sod they brought in, they're probably eating that stuff or living off this stuff. It's all brought in up on this 9th floor of a big hotel. And I couldn't step on them. I'm watching the guys go by, with the waiters. Watch, when the guy looks down and sees this, this world. So when you talk about ants, or I talk about ants, and you talk about aliens.
So you talk about ants.
I just remember one of these astrophysicists saying, when was the last time you looked at ants? Were you interested? Did you try to learn their language? Did you try to do this? It's probably the same thing. They're coming here and we're just a bunch of gorillas and shit, and fighting and, Aaron Draplin laying there watching Netflix and scratching things and going, yeah. Well, which reminds me of one of my dad's jokes. He was a little kid, Detroit, Michigan, and he's walking, and him and his buddy Cash Ferinsky, they stop and they look at this little pile of something and they go, was that think that's dog shit? And he goes, I don't know, Cass, and so my dad gets down and he goes, it actually smells like dog shit. And he goes, Cass gets down, Cass goes, well, it definitely tastes like dog. And they walk away going, well, at least we didn't step in it.
Oh gosh.
Sorry.
Oh gosh. That made me think of like the whole ant thing, going back to that, like, I feel like it's understanding your own insignificance. Like once you realize, and I don't mean that in like a negative way where you're thinking,
thing.
I think it's important because you also, if we talk about aliens too, who's to say in this little, if it's eternal, well, let's just say, this universe is eternal, then we're just this little tiny blip. Like who's to say things didn't come before us or things are going to come after us, and we're just in in this little stage where we're seeing our own little existence, but we're not seeing what existed before or whatnot. But
what did I see a week ago? It was these two clever, funny guys. They're called the Good Liars.
Oh yeah,
and you're never going to not. What's the double negative? You put a mic in front of these MAGA half-wits, you're going to get a fun clip. For what reason? Because people are stupid and they're whatever. I mean, whatever. Fine. Probably the same thing at the Aaron Draplin, I'm as liberal as I can, whatever fest. Okay, whatever. But they went to this creation thing, and there's a guy in a booth, and he is selling the story of 6,000-year-old dinosaurs and coexistence and biblical whatever. Now, before I say he's just a dipshit, I'll get there. Instead, I have a weird empathy for he's trying to make a buck. He's in a booth selling poorly designed books and by all these guys who call themselves a doctor of some biblical study, and that is it's just there's just so much horse shit out there. I mean, just on a general level, I find it very sad that I don't know who to trust, be it politicians, be it your own people who run the city of Portland. I mean, I'm cynical. I'm nervous that I've had my heart broken. It's in graphic design. I probably cried to you guys about that when I met you. It's like I did. Be really careful with what luck and privilege I have that people listen to what I do, and I will never take that for granted. I hope you guys understand that, but hey, that's not the same with some of the constituents that we bump elbows with. There's money to be made. So this guy putting a mic in front of this creationist guy, I just have a weird empathy. I feel bad for the guy. I mean, what a life to be that pigeonholed, to have to fight against science, empirical logic, data, things, and just sort of common sense. But there's a buck to be made. So it's no different with these Jeremy Corbells and the Stephen Greers. They're full of shit. Tom DeLonge. That band, what's it, Blink-182, unlistenable at best. Sorry to the
that's from our generation.
I gotta be careful with all you people.
The mail we're gonna get after this episode.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was never a Blink-182 fan. I appreciate them more as I'm older now.
Jordan Wong from Cleveland, Ohio. How dare he say what he said about ballroom dancing?
How did you let him on?
By the way, when I was in Miami, I met one of Jordan's buddies on the top of this mixer who came up to me and said, "Draplin, I went to school with Jordan," and I just said, well, whatever the hell I was saying up to this point, let me just tell you what I think of him. And I went crazy because I just love that guy. And by the way, the work he's doing, it's pretty cool. He's on to something I haven't seen. You know what I mean? And there's only one of these Jordan Wongs, and, there's going to be a bunch of other ones in a year and a half here. They get but he'll figure out a way to, you know what I mean? So anyway, it was cool to meet his buddy because I just love that guy. You brought him over here, Dustin, that one time. That was cool. I've met him a handful of times. What a sweet creature, It smells very good when you get really close to him. If you just really...
I'll take your word for it.
I haven't seen him forever. I miss him. I need to go out to Cleveland or something. He's a very good guy.
You go see OK Pants. That guy out there. Take you to a hardcore show and you could take your shirt off and punch people.
It sounds like a Jason Karn type of event.
It's fucking hardcore music. I can't. I just can't. I like the Cro-Mags. Some of the godfathers of some of that stuff, but these people beating each other up and pumping weights and all. I don't know, man. But okay, sorry.
I've reduced myself down to the.
I got to ask you something kind of related to this, because you did, when we met at the toy show, you said the same thing. And you said this, I think every time I met you, you brought it up. You say, I never take for granted. I remember this was with Jordan when we came over. You were talking about doing a conference and I think like taking a part of the door for being the main speaker and helping to set it up, something like that. And you said, hey, I got to do this stuff. I'm lucky. All these people are paying attention to me. I don't know how long it's going to last for. And I feel that way too. Like I don't have my own Timex like you do. Just got by the way. I don't have my own Timex like you, but I've been able to make a living doing what I'm. Oh, that looks different than mine.
That's it. There's mine. It's still going, man. That's my first stamp.
He's got a real one.
Love it. But what I was going to say is like you definitely are grateful for that. But on the other hand, I've seen you speak 4 or 5 times. I remember one time we were somewhere in the deep Midwest, or I think it was the South, and it was right when Trump was coming to the rise of Trump in the very beginning. And
was that Creative South?
In the right room to be criticizing Trump. And boy, you had some crosswords to say about him. And I remember reading the room and being like, a lot of these people in here they're laughing because they love him, but they're not feeling that. And I guess the question that I'm coming to with this is, I always think to myself, what if I say something to my audience
Yeah,
and they
no.
all decide, and I find out that they're 90% Trump supporters, and I lose my entire audience, and then I'm on the streets, trying to, get enough money to buy soup for my kids. Like, you say so many things that I think make you so attractive to people, but are also polarizing. Do you ever get worried? Like, what's your thought process? Help me. How
Well,
can I
I
be
would
more
just
like you?
say, fucking shame on them. What side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of people that lie for a living? Do you want to be on the side of people that other people? You know what I mean? It's no different then. I smelled that before he came into. That guy, I didn't like the way he talked to Rosie O'Donnell. When was that? You don't talk
It's a
to
while back.
celebrity like that, but he did. And so what he's done, he's weaponized a bunch of half-wits who think it's okay to bring back the R word. It's not okay. So, for me to come out and say that, I'm not going to dance around. I'm not going to dance. By the way, what voice am I? Someone who's afraid of them? Look where we're at. So to the people in the crowd, people listening, if you're playing some game where you're just waiting to see, fuck that. Because now, people with the last name Berg, because they're a Jewish family, 4 and 5 and 6 years ago, before the dignity of Mr. Biden, right? I mean, we'll just say no big scam. I mean, they fabricated a lot of stuff, the other yahoos, but they were just, nuts and bolts, did the job, whatever, to many different degrees. But it's like 7 years ago, people were having their gravestones kicked over because the name sounded ethnic. I remember that thing, and I saw the photos of that thing. That's right after Charlottesville. Okay. So, you hear this stuff, and is it our job? I know where I'm at. I'm in Creative South. A lot of those kids, you have to have some empathy because they can't go stand up to their stupid parents. But you get to make a choice. And someone helped me, and that might have been Fugazi. And they would come out and say, you do not mistreat women. You do not our friends from the LGBT community. You take care of immigrants. You help the homeless. This show is a benefit for the homeless. Well, what if they lost part of the crowd? They got me. So it's interesting. Like, by the way, and if I lost them, I don't want them at my merch table. Go buy your goddamn creationist Bible or something, whatever. But you're gonna come to odds with all that, at some point. It's just, friends can't talk to their parents because some asshole's holding on to some stop the steal shit. And it's garbage. But, to go and say that, in front of a bunch of people, I'm just not gonna hide behind it. My heroes always did. And I mean, I am no authority whatsoever, but I have a brain, I have a conscience, and in that room, if I can sway some kid from just, hey man, really look at this before you go and hide or put your head in the sand, or listen, I had a kid come up to me and scare the shit off me. He was a little hayseed hick in Iowa, but he came up to me and just said, he's going to be your next president. Because that...
Before the first time?
Yeah, this is in 2015. He's like, these are the country strong kids. Now, he wasn't in the design program I was talking to. He was just some guy that heard that there was a funny guy speaking somewhere in Iowa. He was with his buddies. But he is armed. He's armed now to kind of be, well, if you're not okay with it, fuck your feelings or something like that. That's not what we grew up in. If you were some creepy militia guy in Michigan, you had to hide. Not anymore. Now we have Stephen Millers. Now we have, these, what do you call it? Marjorie Taylor Greene. So listen, I mean, let's talk about graphic arts. Let's talk about life and aliens and shit, but it's heartbreaking to me. And if it means I'm going to lose money over something, I don't want them to have my stuff. I keep my shit fairly priced. I keep my shit accessible. I don't play some game as an artiste, $200 posters and stuff. Give me a fucking break. Well, I want to sell some stuff. If you don't like it anymore, take the poster and get a puppy and line a crate. It's okay. But it was made, what I'm saying? So, like, I don't want that then. I would rather make things for people who have, different kinds of hearts, whatever you want to call it, whatever that means. Yeah. I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I do know, but hey man, I was 18 years old being called every word in the book, trying to vote for Bill Clinton, right? You know, I mean, I remember. And there's always going to be it. Hey, you want to be a lazy asshole who's just into the group dynamic because you don't want to stand out a bunch of your half-wit buddies? It's easy. I was with a bunch of buddies who were like, no, we want some new blood in here. It's as old as America. It's as old as time. I just watched that Mark Twain. Mark Twain stood up to these abuses of power. That's like 1882. So look where we're at now. Twain did it by making fun of them, and expose them. For me to just get up there and, do a mic check and go, fuck Don Trump or whatever I said, still do it to this day, because I'm afraid of it and I see where it's at, and we're now in the post-truth era. What do you even know? Everything is and that's because there's this, this psychopath on the loose who's just worried about revenge going back to when he was a little kid. Like it's some really basic psychology, but people are going to start to feel it in the pocketbook. They already are at the gas pump, at a border, so I don't know. When you go to Canada, they're nicer to immigrants. Okay. They're nicer to the indigenous because they're a little higher on the food chain, that country. Now, someone's going to say, why don't you move there? Well, no, I love my country and I want to fight in the best little way I can, be it through creativity or through maybe a big dumb voice to say, what's the right side of it? What's the right side of history here? My dad didn't like Richard Nixon. You know what I mean? Because he was a crook. Well, what do we got now? Who remembers that? Someone was defending that turd. Yeah.
So how do you do that? I guess, do you have any advice? Cause I feel like personality wise, I am trying my darndest. It's taking me a long time, to try to find my voice. I never was one to just sit there and rock the boat. That was just not in my, it was not my, no, and I'm not saying I need to, but I feel like being, confident in what you don't know or what you feel to be right or wrong or whatever, but in stating your stance on things and not having the fear of that fallout that comes from it and just sticking to your guns. Now, how would you say, is there any way for us to we're so far apart. Everybody feels like they're so far apart. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this and they're just going to be like, I don't agree with anything that Aaron's saying. Or maybe you do, but you don't think that's the thing. And that's, how do we find some sort of middle ground? Is there any way of understanding each other now? Have you found anything in in your lifetime? Have you been, as you've been sharing your bold opinions and not wavering from them, have you found ways to still connect with folks who think completely opposite of you?
Of course. But I get the emails now saying, 7 years later, boy, I made a mistake. Well, why are you telling me? Well, you're one of the first people I heard say something. And I was just like, whoa, well, I got those emails too. But nah, I'm not, there's no middle ground when you are actively working to take from people. Sure. Or, there's no middle ground. No. I can't accept that. And you're a hateful thing. And if you want to play that game, there's a million gradations of that, no, it's first of all, you got to have good moves just as graphic designers. Like before you get into this politics bullshit, it's like you have good moves. You have to have integrity in how you do your projects. I don't play the game of I won't do it for this buck. I won't do it for that buck. How dare they do this? I did it for $100 sometimes for a logo. I did it for a lot more than that. And even that's polarizing. To get in front of a bunch of people and say, cut the shit. Boo-hoo. This is some boomer talk. Your anxiety or whatever the latest thing is. Hard work, slow and steady wins the pace. Being frugal. You're watching Netflix for 7 hours a night. Do I have the right answer? No. But I knew something worked for me. And if I can share a little bit of that, and I have, it's because no one else told me that. People told me I didn't have what it took. They had told me things like, you don't have the right look for this. Well, is that
Aaron Draplin doesn't have the right look for this?
I mean, I saw it.
Well, yeah, there was a time though. I feel like there was a time when design was I don't know, it was Mad Men type guy, or maybe like some sort of
Oh,
person with
sure.
like these like the right, $500 black rimmed
Well, I
glasses.
mean,
And
that sort of like when I was in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis is really fun because it's got some of the most beautiful work in the world with the Walker Art Center, but it's also got a bunch of Chuck Andersons and stuff. Now I'm dating myself. But what I liked about it was there was a middle ground there where you could really do beautiful work for Target, the biggest thing in the world in the Midwest. And it still had this craft and consideration that looked like for something that you're making for your buddy's little thing. And they got it slipped into that, into the river there. And that was really inspiring to me because it meant design wasn't something so high-minded that I couldn't afford. I could enjoy it at Target also, right? That's an interesting kind of thing. Because when I got into it, there was this pukey quality to graphic design about, pushing it to the edges. I got to be careful with some of this stuff because those portfolios don't hold up all that well. Well, I saw the writing on the wall. If you want to, here's a big F word for you guys, fashion, then go have your thesis about this scrizzly scrazzly bullshit until you come up against the Elliot Earls, who was beautiful and weird and grinding things and shooting sparks and making typefaces. Go look him up. Because he's a true artist and a weirdo. And then you meet him and he's the sweetest creature. But there was a lot of that stuff. And it just didn't make sense to me. Somewhere you could make a good living making ads at Target. What's wrong with that? And there isn't anything wrong with that. So, I would be at sharing, listen, I don't want to put anyone on the edge in the crowd, but I'm not there with a litmus test, but I'm going to tell you what I think of where we're at. I'm going to tell you if I'm afraid, I'm going to tell you if I'm freaked out, and I'm going to celebrate the fact that we were trained to do better with our work and find creative solutions. Why can't we do that with our hearts and our minds? And that's it. That's just the long and the short of it. It's like, well, I could have stayed. By the way, man, I know guys who are raging Catholics, and guess who they have to vote for? But it's dogma, and you see them free up. And then they get to like, oh, I can still be a good person without having to, get up on Sunday morning. Whatever. There's nothing wrong. If that's your jam, that's your jam. To get back to like, by the way, my opinions, my bullshit. Hey, if I'm done with this stuff, I saw the writing on the wall well before you guys did. That's why you hear that ooze out of me. Like this was never supposed to happen and it's happening. So what do you do with that currency? It's weird, right? Well, you sleep with one eye open. You be a good person every time you get to go do it. You say what you got to say. You try to, whatever. But what they can never take away from you is your craft, your hard work, you're making a good solution for a client. So, with those things, but I'm not out there to try to change anyone. I don't, but, I get kids who come up to me afterwards and say, there's nothing I can say. I live in a household that does this. It's like, okay, where are you at? Protect yourself. Don't get in trouble at Thanksgiving. What can you do? What can you do? Because I figured out ways to contribute my time to help people in weird little dark corners and all kinds of stuff. I don't put it on my Instagram when a teacher from an underserved community hits me up and wants field notes or stickers that say peace or peace doves, hearts for their Catholic, what do you call it, Sunday school. I don't talk about that. I show pictures of Mark Twain I was drawing on my iPad, because that was a couple nights ago. I'm not going to patronize that, but I do that stuff. I keep that space for like, does it, you're losing money. So what? So what? I got so far ahead in this stuff so long ago that, it allowed for a slush and a surplus, but it also allowed for a slush and surplus in how you act. Now listen, I've worked for some big ones, and you would never hear any of that shit on those phone calls. Never. Until I get to know them. And that's a little bit different. It just freaked me out when I saw people get names and this stuff and then start like, I don't know. It still freaks me out. their job isn't to be like a maker anymore. Their job is to be an influencer or something. That's like, it's freaky. It's freaky. It's well, you better not write a check you can't cash. I've seen the other side of it. When I do the workshops, debatable or not, but the stuff you can use the next time you climb into your machine, hacks, things, stuff, tweaks, ways to think about color, type, whatever. They have to be tactile. This is not some wishy-washy. I'm not selling vapor. You know what I mean? In the same way as I don't want to sell vapor about me being a big name on a funny conference. You guys, if it never happened, I still would have been working. I still would have had to pay bills. I still would have paid my house off in 2012, like that,
Congrats, a huge accomplishment.
I did it with graphic design. How'd I do it? Well, I wasn't out, drinking and getting wild and, whatever. But how did I do that? I took every job, I had people challenge me. Why would you work for, this thing where they're taking advantage of you? It's an afternoon. I bought a laptop with you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Maybe it's a shtick now, but it is 30 years ago. I had to wash dishes in Alaska for 5 months to buy my first computer.
Jeez.
Oh yeah.
I just don't take that I can never turn my back on. You guys weren't there with me when I had to get up at 4 a.m. I'm on the edge of tears. This is real. And pedal my ass down to wash dishes on this sightseeing trip. It wasn't that bad of a job, but I had buddies who were flitzing around all summer long, going to Lollapaloozas and things down here. I'd go up there and make money. It's the only way I could do it. Mom and Dad couldn't just cut me that check. They were working people, what I mean? And those were some hard mornings, but at the end of the summer, that's what helped me get ahead. Little bits, little shitty little bits, but they add up, And I could have figured out, I did have a couple, stanky little hole shots I took advantage of, which are I made a t-shirt every summer and sold it to the crowd, the crews. Yeah. I would go produce it, design it. I'd do it at a Kinko's. But I'd produce it. Instead of us buying bullshit in downtown Anchorage that said CK Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
They're real smart. They'd do AK Alaska. Everyone's wearing that shit on their days off. And fuck that. I'd go make my own thing. I'm peddling. Listen, 7-hour Criterion collection here. How do you get boxes of t-shirts from point A to point ZZZ, my house on Latouche in Anchorage? You know what you do? You put it on your mountain bike and you go 2 blocks and you drop it within distance you can see. You go back to number 2 and you do that 6 times and you do it again. And that took me an afternoon and I got it all back. I didn't even think to get one of the guys who had a car up there. Because you know what I'm saying? And
the long, hard, stupid way. It's not always the worst way.
Not always the worst, you know what I mean? But I know it's pretty stupid. But it's, in essence there, it hardens you. And then the first job you get where you don't have to cut your hands washing dishes and you get to do it with graphic arts, you are, pretty thankful. So I try to keep that, and I try to keep that spirit because you guys, I have gotten away with murder. Bloody, gross, disgusting murder in this, call it a game or this industry or this profession. And I also have dodged some scary bullets because I just said, not interested in working for energy drinks or something, As a man of size, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to promote that,
What's your take? Some people I've noticed, I personally always, maybe I don't give myself enough credit sometimes. I'll oftentimes be like, hey, I got lucky. I got on a creative market and I put this thing up. My kid was going to be born in 9 months. I was $25,000 in debt. I started doing this. I put the first one out. It happened to be that the company was in San Francisco and I was down in the Bay Area. So then something did well there. And then that guy started coaching me that was the CEO of that company at that time. All these things happened. And then when my child was born, I'm out of debt. I have money coming in. I have a little bit of email marketing background, so I start to create my own website and build up my email list. But I know it could be really different. I mean, I was drinking too much. I was smoking before my first daughter was born. And I know that a little slight thing, maybe if they hadn't chosen me for that email that one time on that one Tuesday when I got featured and I saw that first chunk of money come in, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. So I oftentimes think to myself, you can think you're so smart, Dustin, but I know how dumb I am. And I oftentimes give a lot of credit to the fact that, hey, some lucky things happen. But some people I've noticed will get really upset and be like, well, you can't do that. It's what you know. And I could drop me anywhere in the world and I could do it again. Where do you land on that? Could you be dropped anywhere in the world with no contacts, nothing, and do it again? Or do you feel like luck is a huge, not to say obviously you're very talented. You have a strong, voice.
But by the way, you're no slouch either, Woodward. I was digging around your shit. Got some moves. Well,
where do you land on that?
Well, listen. I think it's very, here we go. It's very dismissing when someone says you did it because you got lucky. Because first of all, there was no luck involved pedaling my ass to go make it through those summers. I had buddies who drank all summer long, chase girls, chase guys all summer long. That's not conducive for having to go to bed by midnight and get up at 4 to get on the train. Is that luck? No.
But there are lots of people that do the exact same thing and they never see the success.
I know, but this is before any of this. But I still found little stanky little hole shots to say, oh, there's an opportunity here. Might have been only $1,000 extra bucks, but that $1,000 extra bucks was 3 less weeks on the train. So I'm not going to cry about this. And I'm also not going to let it go to happenstance. I worked hard. I had to be a good citizen. I had to take it on the chin. I've told the story enough. But, years there, people would rake me over the coals and I just would take it, get the job done, never talk to them again. Because, people would threaten you with legal beagle or, I've had guys stiff me and say, you better get a lawyer. I say, oh, over $1,500, you fucking turd. You're going to, you got something coming. You got a meteor coming your way, man. You could do it to me. I'm an easy target. I'll go make it tomorrow afternoon. But you got one on me. But karmically, where does that come back? I didn't do that shit. See you later, turd. You got me. Instead of I'm going to get a lawyer and then go have some parasite lawyer take a third of it and a third of it. I didn't have to operate in that world. It might have been little and shitty. And then when it gets really big, it's still the same principles. So where do I land on that? I don't know, man, because it's the pursuit was never to be the bestest, fastest, whateverest. It was to be the freest. Maybe only in your mind. Maybe only in my apartment up in Anchorage. Maybe only in my backyard here. I haven't worn pants. By the way, you guys, I am bottomless right now. So when you step back from that, you know where that comes from? Directly from skateboarding. It wasn't punk rock, we'll say. How about not even that? Just thinking for yourself. We didn't have any resources. We had a good time on a stupid skateboard with all of our buddies in the back of some industrial yard somewhere on a little curb. We weren't getting in trouble. We all went to our pizza job. Is that luck? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same principle, but it wasn't about, because people will say to me, well, Draplin, do you think you could have become bigger? And it was like, for what? What? More money? I don't even spend the shit I was lucky to put away. I mean, it comes and goes, but it's right. No, I'm building an egg so I can be free. I might just stop now. I might seriously stop now because I know what it costs to live here in Portland. It's getting weirder and weirder. But it's not about, I was in the podcast today and the woman said, well, where are you? I said, I'm the 417th fastest graphic designer in the Northwest. Shit. Why are we measuring? Because clicks is a new construct. numbers, zims and zams. So to answer,
I see what you're saying. Like, I was thinking a sliding doors type thing where, different little things happen and what happens. But I see what you're saying. You're saying like, but still, you kind of keep putting these actions in front of each other and they stack up to the same thing either way.
It hurts me to think that someone has put the work in, put the time in, and didn't get rewarded for that in some fashion. But see, there's silver lining that people will glaze over. And these are like, this is no different than these mediums and shit who, whatever you throw at them, they know an angle to take. Yeah. And to make you think, there's all these little tricks, sleights of hand. I don't want to be that. When a kid's telling me nothing's revealed itself while my job at Subway, this is a story I have. And I said, I'm not going to, the cute thing to say is, well, you got a bunch of free subs. But no, it's more like, hey, you've been insured. You've been indoors. Boo-hoo. But the construction guy or the Aaron Draplin guy or the people that take their family to go have a bunch of subs, don't they deserve good design also? That's what you did. Now, if you want a bigger reward, you got to go find that. It's not easy. So, for me to play this game of like, no matter what your situation is, I'll find something. It's getting harder and harder to do that, but I'll be upfront about that. And, just the idea of like, it just hurts me to think that someone, like, the most basic human rights of like, you should be insured and you should be this. And, someone's making a lot of money. But you guys, I had buddies who were crazy ambitious and worked out at Nike and tried to build empires. And that shit can go away when the new guy up above you hires his buddy from high school. And it scared me. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to be susceptible to that. So could I work on a bunch of snowboard shit? I did. And I broke $200,000 in 2005. That was 3 times more than I made at my hot shit job working on Nike, Nixon watches, things and stuff and things. Right. No one told me you could go in your backyard, never wear pants, and make 3 times as much because I said yes to everything. Now, is that luck? Sometimes. But, but I don't want it. I don't, I have a lot more respect for someone who shows up at work every day, grinds it out, and pays their bills than I do the guy bitching about it, trying to find the next, I don't know.
If you say luck, sometimes it takes away from, maybe it takes away from someone else's ability to feel like they can attain that thing. Like if you say it was all just luck, like that makes it so it's unattainable. I feel like it's a lot of decisions. I feel like you made a lot of decisions in your life that maybe hard decisions, uncomfortable decisions.
Area for luck.
But like Dustin, you have always had good craft. You've always had good moves. You were thoughtful. It was funny. It might not be something I want to purchase, but I saw other people purchase it. And that model is really interesting to me because you're an inventor of something out that you went and made it this neat little thing you can download, and that's amazing. It's the same buzz, me watching you over the years. I've used a couple things, but me watching you over the years where it's like illustrators sell their own pen tips, pen drawings. Oh yeah. That's amazing to me because that meant you didn't have to go knock on the door at company X and then work for them and maybe not like what they put out in front of you. You went and made your own path. That's not luck. So, the fact that someone went through the Rolodex and went, Dustin today, money, whatever, I think it still would have come to you just in another kind of form. There's something I can't put my finger on there. Because if you take a screenshot of my friends, I've been so lucky to the Jordan Wangs and stuff. These kids I get to meet, people I got to get to know and work with sometimes. Everyone did all right and is doing okay. Could we all do better? Sure, but there's an art form to just kind of accepting this is as far as I could take it. Brad, I'm never going to be president. You're laying there in the bed, I'm never going to be a senator. I'm
never going to be Aaron Draplin.
Well, no, you know what though? That is what happens. You're right. Like, because
please don't beat
I had
yourself
done, I
up
had done
for doing
that
a
probably.
good job. Please don't beat yourself up. Dustin, I don't know you all that well, but you've always had your shit together. And I don't know the stuff before you, kid, but you're always in a product. You're always making it and had good craft. Okay? Don't beat yourself up over that. You know what I mean? It's like, because I'll do it to myself. How did this, how did Stapleton call me? How did these guys know to call me? Stapleton was looking on his Instagram like everybody else. He liked some of my moves. Now I get to work for Stapleton. Is that luck? Or he just liked my little garbage? You know what I mean? Well, what if no one ever called? What if no one ever called? And all I could do is make stupid hats with funny little graphics. We just sold out of this dumb hat. You hopefully sold a bunch of little zims and zams and techniques and, textures, and Brad, I don't quite know what you do, but
I'm here talking to you, and this is my job right here.
I drove around on Brave the Woods. I saw some stuff, the kids art stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Because that is not the same. You can't go start a Nike. Some people did. But when you're out there, you're part of that ecosystem. Get in where you fit in, kick ass, play the games, do the decks about decks and meetings about meetings and all that other shit. You're inventing some shit. This is some
Yeah.
Like there was no license that you had to go and attain for that. Did you have to get, Dustin, did you have to get a letter from the city of Washington to go make these cool halftones and shit? That's not the same in the insurance industry. That's not the same. I don't know,
Well, now that you're saying that, so I'm thinking, I could if you gave me like 2 minutes, I could rush around here like it's, Double Dare or whatever, Nickelodeon, and find about 10 things that are Aaron Draplin things. Actually, I'm confident I could find more than that. I have a bunch of your stuff, but if you had made one or you'd made 5 and then you'd been like, that's it, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the fact that you kind of just kept going, you're just like, I'm making it either way. You must have probably over 1,000 SKUs or something like that, right? And the same with me, right? I've been doing 13 years. I've had a lot of things that haven't worked out, but I've put things out every year for 13 years. And guess what? Surprise. More people buy stuff if you make more stuff and you keep putting stuff out and you keep doing it.
But your craft is good. I don't know how to say it. Like the dinosaur drawing guide I saw,
Hey.
well, I want one of those because I want to, you know what I mean? Do I have to be 7?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But it looks appropriate, like what, I want to be part of the Brave. I'm looking at it right here. It's like, so
Yeah.
listen, the first time I found out that I could make a widget that says Draplin Design Company, and a bunch of my buddies buy it. How weird is that? Lee and I were just talking about this yesterday. Like, I get weirded out when people buy Draplin, the word Draplin on a hat. Because what does that mean? Well, that was just for my friends, but it took off. So now I make stuff like this, middle age, because I'm there. But I want to make fun of heavy metal people, heavy metal, all those guys. Okay. And it's, I like heavy metal, I love some, I was listening to the dead metal when you guys I was waiting for, Claire. When the first widget I made where it was like, I can make a little buck on this, not a big buck, but a little buck, that paved the way for not knowing any better about field notes. It was just like, I just want to make my own. You're allowed to make your own little book and give it to all your friends for a couple of years, and then you're allowed to have a Jim Coudal find it, and next thing you know, like there's a website, and then there's guys like John Gruber, Mac Wizards coming in and making us go like this kind of stuff. Well, we had a cool thing. How did I make it? It comes back to like, you have to pick the cool little ferns and shit for your dinosaur guide. I had to pick the non-moves that you see, the simplified, whatever.
Yeah.
And that, because that's what we were all trained to do. That elixir, understand this though. Even though I got a nice buzz from that and started to see that some years ahead, I could just make my own stuff and make a living on that and not have to worry about Nike or whoever being the big hot shit thing. I still did those jobs every morning. I had one foot in the pragmatic at all times and one foot in the we're going for it, the dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
But I never lost the footing because I couldn't. I had mom and dad to take care of, or my little sister, or, things, and myself. So, that's not necessarily luck. I get a little spicy about it because it's like, in the same respect, I have a buddy who just did the straight and narrow. He had beautiful children. He worked his ass off. He has a great life in Minneapolis. He's a Target guy. He's worked in creative stuff. I go to Target. Maybe I'm not as pumped on him as of late for obvious reasons, but that's
Sure.
catching up with him. Hey, you become a shitty company. People don't want to be with you. Whatever. Funny how it works. Well, my buddy did a great job for years, and he lived an awesome. I mean, it's really impressive to me because he was creative as shit. He did great work. He left at 5. And went and did all kinds of other stuff. So, whatever the path you take, it's hard for me to tell a kid, you don't have a job in design yet? Okay. What job do you have? Well, I'm just getting out of school. At least you got a laptop. I didn't even have a laptop. So you could just stay at home and not go punch in at Jersey Mike's or something like version of that I got to do or didn't know any better. Pizza jobs and shit. You can just stay at home and invent something for yourself. I'm watching it with Jordan. I'm watching it happen. It's pretty exciting. But also with Jordan, I bet you if we had him on here and he'd say, I started a job at this age or whatever it was, and he always had a job, and he always had one foot in the old figure it out, keep your rent paid. And then when everyone else is laying down watching Netflix, you got to go soar with the Eagles. And there's a lot of years there sitting on my ass watching movies with Lee, and I had my laptop open in front of me pecking away because it was a game. It was fun. It wasn't work. Yeah, it was work. It was fun. It was fun. I made it a hobby. And then some of that stuff starts to come back. That's like why I will never mess with this, because I got to enjoy what I did, talk to creative people, help some people that needed a little bit of help and be open about that stuff. And then make a fuck of a living somehow, but you have to stack a lot of stuff up, so, it's an interesting story. I don't know, you guys, I'm working on a project right now where it's rough, but I know how to do it. I was trained to do that, and they change it and they push it around. I'm in a holding pattern, but I know how to do it. What a privilege to have done less and less of that. But you can go back over the years. It's just sediment. Is it luck? Or is it 50 folders with 50 different logos in 2007? It is. I can show it screen grab. Some of them for $50, some for $500, one for $50,000, and that's the new tooth.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah. So, please don't beat yourself up. But I understand the question, because even in the same respect to kind of wiggle my way out of that answer where it's like, no, I work hard. I also know to keep one eye open that this all could go away pretty fast. So you better stay cool, have good bedrock, have good design chops. Listen, when I go on the road, we're not necessarily talking about how to become the 417th fastest graphic designer, how to organize your desktop, how to organize your folders, how to be efficient to get in there, more time for fun shit, more time for going and watching Netflix. Your desktop looks like someone threw up on it. What are you doing? You're just I took my desk right here and just went, shh, and I can't find my, cool pen I've been using. That's stupid. You know what I mean? So is that me being a charlatan? No, that's me just saying I learned some lessons along the way that could help you today. Not who's the fastest and coolest and all that other shit. No.
You're stacking the wins. You're stacking the failures. I feel like you're putting in the mileage. I like that. Well, that's advice. I feel like that's great though, Aaron, because I feel like anybody that doesn't make it unattainable for everybody. It makes you want to like do things you believe in, you care about, be a good person, and put in the work.
You know what? And this is the really shitty side of this. It's like, I don't want to be the guy who says, well, life is unfair. But I found silver linings even on my jobs up in Alaska. Because here's the thinking. I spent 4 summers in Alaska. It was never over 72 degrees. I was on my bike and skateboard. I was charged by a moose. I was going through a bike,
Oh, we're gonna have to share moose stories at a different time. I have a good one too.
a bike path, and it was like
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and that thing's bigger than a horse. Well, there's a way to look at it. Now, me crying about having to get up in the morning, you guys, I made it so creative up there. I made zines and made fun of. There's a guy named Brown Sugar Bill. He would bring brown sugar onto his train and make a brown sugar demi-glace or something for his salmon. It's horrible. I don't like that.
Brown Sugar Bill.
Brown Sugar Bill.
That.
So I'd make logos for him. So see what I'm getting at? This stuff can be applied to the lowest of the low of your life. Me up there on this train, locked as the lowest person on the train. I was the dishwasher. That's it. The next one on the outside, talking to the actual people, is the gift shop girl, because she's the lowest. Okay. And then it's, all the way up to the manager or whatever. And I still made hay in that, I made hay of that. And I made t-shirts, or I made zines. What I'm getting at is like this creativity. It can be applied to just, what if I never got a job in this stuff? I just was a dishwasher the rest of my life. I still enjoyed making weird little zines, t-shirts, and goodies. So see what I'm saying? It's like, sure. That's not any different when I got out and had a proper job at Cinco Design for 27 months or whatever that was. I was there on time. I sat through the meetings. I got in the calls. I got in the planes. I went down and helped design Nixon watches. I did my job, right? But the difference is, and I don't know if it's luck or just maybe I didn't know anyone in town. Everyone would go home at 5:15, and I would play my guitar inside Cinco because I could crank it. I couldn't do it at my apartment, but I'd hang out and play my guitar. Or I would do GoCo prints, or I would work on I had to have all this approved. I use the machines tonight because my machines or whatever. And sometimes they'd say no. I remember this guy, Kirk James, saying, don't work on other projects while you're here. That's all I ask. Do what you got to do, but never while you're at work. I know. And it's like, people would go home. They had families and babies. And to me, it was like you're punching into the stuff you dreamed about all day. And I really made good use of that. Now, did I hinder other things? Possibly, It's weird to talk about, but in the last 5 months, I've been walking a lot, and I'm down some pounds, and I've been going to a trainer, and you should see me. I'll just say the most horrific shit to him, just like, just things. And he just, Draplin, you just, I'll just say right now, the angle of the dangle divided by the flap of the fold or whatever, he'll just, I'm lifting these things and all this kind of shit, and he's just like, and he just, we have a good time. But I've been doing that.
To be Aaron Draplin's trainer.
Yeah, my God. Fucker will take on it.
Poor soul.
Interview that guy.
We got to interview your trainer. That's exactly right.
Well, here's the thing, I need to do better in that department. So I've just had to go out and accept it, get out in front of it. I probably waited way too long. And then we're seeing a little bit of results, but I'm trying. And it's like good craft, bad craft. There were certain things that I could just do better with, and you learn and you have to be educated. Like I went to the doctor 3 years ago now. I don't like it. It's scary, and it's accountability and all this kind of, I don't know. Are you guys good at going to the doc?
No, absolutely not.
Anxiety inducing for sure.
Dustin and I have these conversations all the time as we're hitting that.
You're not
40.
Does your family get on your case?
Oh, my wife gets on my case all the time.
Okay. Well, oh man, he'd never tell you, but Armin is not good at going to the doc. Just kidding. I'm looking at his. I know him. Yeah.
Armin.
A little bit. Yeah. But, it's been really cool to go. I cry every time. I thank all the docs, and it is the most basic of diagnostics. But the heart's looking good. The things are looking good. The albumin, look that up. It's stuff in your pee,
Okay.
Your blood sugar, we're working on it. But I've been out. I'll do probably 3.5 to 4 miles tonight.
Good for you. That's huge.
Well, down to 33rd. It's about a half hour, 10 minutes up, and then another half hour back, and then 10 minutes back up. And the idea is hour and 20, I have headphones on because I don't know any other way to do it. There's some doc shit, there's some other shit, but things are getting a little loose, but it's like
you do look really good. I can tell the difference. You look great.
Remember how I'm bottomless? You should see how you can really see it right on the old. Sorry, this is my trainer Pete. When I'll kind of go, is that another trainer? Some guy standing there, and I don't know him. But, Pete, you can see him winking to the dot. They know each other. And that's when I do this shit where I go, Pete, you said by the year 2047, me and you are going to be able to share pants. When does this happen?
Because, wear the same pair of pants at the same time?
I'll be trainer Pete. Pete, you told me that the old berries were going to be a lot less weight to them. What does that mean? And, this guy is, and then I look at him, and the guy looks at me, and he'll take on any project just to make Pete all screwed up. And then I walk out of there and you motherfucker, because in all due respect to Pete, he is helping me. We jump around, we run a little bit, we lift and we do things. And I don't know where the benefit's going to come. Even if it doesn't come, I know it's the right path. Slow and steady wins the race, So
that's a great mentality.
I don't know, man. It's, not getting any younger. So, before I go out and start to sell a 19-step podcast course about how to get smaller, no. You don't see this shit, but I do calls with people who are like, not about that, but like, I'm in trouble, Draplin, but I always liked your stuff. What do I do? Are you okay with me clicking a mouse while we talk? Because I got to get this thing done. And I'll sit and talk to these kids. I'm not a psychologist. Kids, people my age, but they met me somewhere and we became buds. So they picked me up at an airport and we bullshitted and I became a friend. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll do that. And I don't want to go and turn it into something that like they don't know how to unsubscribe from or something. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that out there. But anyway, I don't know, man. God, can't you just talk to me about like Pantone colors or something? What am I even? What
No, that's not what you're here for.
Do you want like a question I really want to ask? It's like way easier. This is an easy one for you, and I've been wanting to ask you this since I first laid eyes on you 10 years ago, whenever it was. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
Oh, that's a really fun question.
I know you got some cool stuff.
So let's say you stumped Aaron.
I would love to hear.
Lee knows the answer. There's this ball scraper we got off of Amazon, and really
clarify.
Hey, wait. I'm on the spot with these two, colleagues here. What would you say?
Joy in the last couple weeks.
Drawing?
No, steaming.
Oh, okay. So we make hats, Yeah. Sometimes they get a little zinkle dinkle, a little crinkle, or a little
a little divot.
Okay, divot. Now, one hat will go into the box. They get the divot, and you'll have 23 of 24 hats that have the same divot. Sometimes the way the person stacked them in there when they were manufacturing, it's just bam, 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 and one gets 7 of them are like, you cannot sell them. I have hats sitting over in this corner here. My pile of hats I'm always cycling through.
Oh, nice.
Well, the idea that like, you can't sell this thing to someone. They're going to pick it up and go, oh, there are crinkles in those hats. Somewhere in the algorithm, I'm digging around and I find this like video of like these like new era, like sneaker freaker guys. Mm-hmm. And they got this dumb $20 steamer thing. And the guy has the hat and he's shooting the steam and the hat, the little zinc just goes away because it relaxes the fabric and it goes back to its form. And for
oh my gosh, I need this.
For $30, by the way, it works on paper. It works on, yeah. Have you guys watched those? What do you call it? Where they take the old posters and restore them?
Oh, I love watching it. They get them like wet and they do the squeegee on them and then they draw all over them.
I just want to lay there and just have them reconstruct, me.
Yeah.
Well,
ASMR.
ASMR, right? So
Yeah.
I get this little $30 thing. Some of these hats I've had to throw out because they couldn't bring them. I'd take my finger inside and kind of do this and put it back and put it on the right thing. And now I fix hats. So Lee knew this right away. That's an amazing purchase. Because not to mention, it's like, I kind of welcome when it's like, oh, well, I just have to donate these to, the most ethical place to possibly donate in town. And it's kind of harder and harder to find those things. It's easy to go to Goodwill. It gets a little weird, But it's like, okay, I'm going to get rid of them because really we are trying to bring our piles down. I had a lot of years at Peak Merch. We are starting to slow it down. And it's okay. It's not a dirty word because I want to try other things in the next phase of my life. I don't even know what that even really is yet. But the things that sell well, you can hear Lee in the background. She's rolling posters right now. But there's certain things that we are starting to let go of. So when I would let go of 12 hats, it hurt because I know what I paid for them. There was a weird little part of me that was like, this is just part of the process. You lose some in the process. You just lose. There's some what do you call it? Loss or something. So to have this little tool to fix these things, it elongates my little game a little bit just to let somebody get it's a hat steamer. Okay. And it works for clothing. If I got a weird crinkle, it just relaxes the stuff and it would just be, we used to go with Cole Headwear. I had a headwear, my buddies who did Cole Headwear up in Seattle. I worked for them for 12, 13 years, helped them start the brand. And it's a little thing on a contraption that steams down by your feet. There's a little post, kind of like when you're in the hospital, little thing like that. You wheel around and a little plastic thing comes like this and it dangles. And that little like almost looks like a vacuum. You take that and you steam out the wrinkles of your shirt or the stuff we were selling for these big trade shows. Why is this funny?
For those listening, he's looking off to the side of the
we have the first police coming over here because I'm going too long. But
riveting podcast ever.
Oh no, Lee's not entertained.
No, yeah. Thanks. And they would do it. I just never made the connection. And I guess what I'm saying is when those little things happen like that, I look at even my backyard with different eyes. What could I fix? What have I accepted I can't fix? And then what can I do? So see what I'm saying? It's not just steaming some stupid hat that has a wiener dog patch on it. And I fixed about 14 of those fuckers. But 3 hours later, back up there, and I could
doing the important work back there.
Or going walking every night, So it's like, these things are like, I don't know where it adds up. I just don't know, but I've stuck to it at least. By the way, there's been so many phases of this shit over the years. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go up, and this one's been a little bit of down, and it's okay. So, it's if it's steaming the hats or whatever, the $100 question, it's like, that's a really fun one because it makes you like, what's the simplest thing that really changed the way we can do business? Now, my mind went to something, it's years ago, but I go into my tips and tricks phase, which it was a $3.99 app called Better Rename. So what that means is, it's better. Mine is called Better Rename. I think it's 11 or something now, but Better Rename. But here's the deal. When I go to bed, I'll crash, and if I can't get tired, I'll go on eBay and I'll just parse old trucker hats. I'll have 50 of them after an hour trying to fall asleep. Now in the morning, you pull them into a folder. It's all gobbledygook. .png. Now this little Better Rename, you plop them in there and you put farmer caps _01 right to 50. And it's instantaneous. Now where I got this thing, now there used to be scripts and stuff you could do this with. Yeah. Here's the deal. Mm-hmm. When I did my book 10 years ago, John Gall said, I saw how you were doing you have nice files, but I saw how you were doing it over your shoulder. Have you tried this app? John Gall was my editor from Abrams, What's the app? Like, he just broke it off for me, and it changed the way I work. So, we're on the road, and people will say to me, what's the best, what do I need? Get that fucking better rename now. Go and pay for the Astute graphics. Pay for it. Because $10 a month, would you spend on coffee? You animal? Well, I use it every day. I don't work for them. I use the product. I get the product because I'll talk about it in front of 15,000 people in an Adobe thing. But it changed the way I work. Now, what if I didn't see that? I still probably would have just grinded it out like I do, changing it, being smart, trying to be cool with my stuff. That made my life easier. And now they have it where you got to re-up it, $30 a year. I used it for about 9 years for $3.99, $4. So, I like to break those things off for friends. You don't hold it close and say, I found it. I did it for me, and I want to do that for someone because, those little sea changes, we can just always be better with the craft of the chaos of your desktop, and that's a beautiful art form. If you can be lethal making the stuff as much as you are dreaming it up and producing it and pulling it off, it's pretty cool. It's like, remember stereos in the 80s? They had the little, who knows, how to even do it, the little mixers and stuff, one goes, there's ohms or whatever. I don't even know.
Little equalizers.
Equalizer. Yeah. I don't know. You make it like a little this or something. Like this. I don't even know. But usually in your life, it's like, take a project. It's really creative and really fun. Cool. They're not paying a shit. So what? The timing's weird. Whatever. It's like sometimes those are so high, and that's when I know to like capitalize. Like the Stapleton projects are really cool because it's going to get out there. I believe in him. I like the records.
He's incredible.
He's incredible, right?
Oh gosh, there goes my cat. Keep talking.
He's incredible, right? And he's also not perfect. He's like a man of size. He's got some curves, appreciate it, there's some deeper nuggets to glean from some of that, and yet, when you think about like, I don't know. You just think about like I've learned to just have one good one and deal with all the shitty ones and still make something good out of it. You know what I mean? So I don't even know where I was going with this. $100, $10.
Another toy. I see all your pedals blinking in the background. Really want to know. So I play guitar myself. I love a good pedal. Not even the one that's the most useful. Just there's sometimes you get one, and there's just something about it.
Yeah.
You just like to turn it on even if it doesn't have very many uses. What do you have any pedals that you just are like, that pedal is so fun, I'm always turning that one on?
No, I don't. I never know the super grainy, perfectly half-toned. I never know the little crusty, like, someone can get into the minutia of like the sound and the tone of this. I just emulate my hero, Jay Mascis. I look at what his things and say, wow, he has a signature model. I'm gonna grab it. It just sounds big, it sounds loud, and that just might be enough for me. That's cool. But really, there's things blinking over there because that's like a little phaser, and it's like I don't even know why I even put that on there. I have no reason to have a phaser, but I saw it on a little mini pedal board of Jay's from his Guitar Tech, and I just remember I took a photo and I was like, wow. Well, there's a part in the song where it does the phaser sound, and it's like, I don't know, I'm the worst with that kind of stuff because I'll talk all day about our logo, but yet I just have weird thoughts about like vintage gear and stuff. It's a sort of like, I don't want someone wore the arm hole on, like from playing, they wore the paint off, because I want to do that. I'll get a 2025 Fender and just go at it, drop it, do it, whatever. Like, like my guitar here, you can't see it, but you might see a couple little zims and zams in the thing here because I know better. I put it, when I lean up against the desk here, it leans on that edge, okay? Then my stupid, anyone for that matter, who just takes it and goes clunk, and I can feel it. Because, like someone else did that for years. Or like, what was I watching last night? I was watching a story about, I've been on a little bit of a Britpop kick. The Verve, the Oasis being a thing this summer. I mean, I love those records from, I like that stuff as much as I love the Jesus Lizard, the Flaming Lips, or whatever the fuck. I love some of that stuff too. So to go and dig way into the Stone Roses, I had the Stone Roses in 91, and there was a documentary about it, and then they get mad on stage and they throw their guitars. I'll never understand that because they can break. But then they're kind of putting little dents and dings. Well,
So you get that patina. You got
character.
What are you doing? Just go put it on.
Baked in it.
I'm much more interested in the guy who just puts it on and then he gets mad and walks away. What are you doing? Like, don't take it out on the instrument. So, like I don't. People nerd out in the minutia of these things, and it's like I don't have time for a lot of that. It's like just keep moving and try. If it sounds good, you get it at Guitar Center, so what? Or you get it at hipster guitar place where they're mean to you. We do a couple of those places.
They're make you feel bad about yourself.
You know exactly what I'm talking. Aaron Draplin, and they're playing his latest Maroon 5 lick he learned, and some guys looking at you, what the hell? Anyway, that was a fun question there, Dustin. And yeah.
I love a good little piece of gear.
Well, yeah. What are you playing right now? What's your guitar you're playing right now?
I have a 1970s, to reissue Swamp Ash Strat that I actually have had forever. I saved up for it when I was 15 years old and got it. Same way you're talking about working all summer. I actually was a dishwasher at Red Robin for one summer. That was, I don't know where you work, but man, that was... You'd leave there and you would just stink.
Oh,
like old wet hamburger.
I know. I don't know. My nephew was 15 and I mess with him and say, don't you want to get a job? And he just doesn't even, the option isn't even there for him or something. It's odd. It's like, that's all we had. You had to get a job. Lee worked since she was 14. I worked since I was 13 or 14. And then we all have our stories. But to me, it's weird. It's like, well, what are you doing with all your time? Because it was a big part of my identity to like get out of school, fuck homework, man, fuck that. Have to go to work some 4 to 8 shift, get home and do my homework and go to bed and listen to some records and, draw a little bit or whatever I was doing. Skateboard with my buddies. It was a full day. And, I see him kind of just a lot of time with his buddies with headsets playing on like a Minecraft or something. I mean, he's 15. They're playing another version of some shoot 'em up game or something. Shit's fun. It's fine. But I just wonder about that. What that looks like. And I know this is some boomer talk, but I've had to learn to downshift because I will fill my night up. The pursuit to make money at this stuff and to get away with murder and all the other fun things, or just enjoy it.
I know.
Never lost that. So if you'll notice, if you look at my Instagram, there's been a lot of drawing because it's just really been fun to me and refreshing to go and sit in a coffee house and just sit or on the plane and sit and draw the plane.
I love that. Yeah.
Because am I an illustrator? Like, I don't give a shit. I just wanted to see if I can even do it. The kid who was reading it, looking at his phone in Miami a week and a half ago. Okay. So, this kind of stuff, it's like, now, is there any money to make from that? No. I don't care. Like, why do I have to worry about that? I'll show this one in a couple of days. Do you guys know the story of Black Kettle? Who was the peacemaker, Southern Cheyenne? Like a peacemaker. And in the end, he got shot in the back and the whole bit. But it's like he understood that the expansionism coming west, you're not going to stop it. They're coming. So you better integrate. You better work with it because otherwise it's just going to be bad. Well, in the end, these overzealous guys, they took him out. So, I mean, but he went back and met Lincoln as a peaceful way to connect these dots, and it's like, there's something there because, hey man, I know what I said. There's no middle ground with these Trumper assholes because it's just bad, but there's going to have to be something. Is it just shaming people for being shitty people? I don't know. There's something in the story of Black Kettle there to kind of make you go, whoa, imagine what he was up against. And he went back and tried to work this out. In the end, it was betrayed, by these, whatever it was. And I've been reading about these people, not looking at the news. I've been watching documentaries about Mark Twain. I've been sitting around drawing. I've been enjoying playing with my Legos or looking at my old action figures or playing my guitar or going on long walks and listening to records and my little things. And there's no sash for any of that. But, I got to make a funny drawing for the walking man. Just make fun. Just make little stories. It's no different what we do for branding or whatever, for a client. And make fun of myself, fine. That's a funny little story too. So, all this stuff, it's like when I go on these podcasts and they say, well, what's next? It's like a lot less. There will be something that will displace it with maybe a little bit more, but it won't be so, I don't know.
I feel like I know what you're talking about. Like I'm 44 and my kids are now, they're still cute and little, but they're not like little tiny like they, used to be. Even if things didn't go great in the business, like I, probably am going to make it I could probably make it through, my life comfortably. Like not with Lamborghinis or something, but I mean, I'd make it and I'm not going to be on the street or something like that. And, I find that like I'm constantly like trying to figure out like what, like I'll walk too, like I've been in the country. So I'll walk down the road in the country. Sometimes I'll just pace a circle or walk. It's only 5 acres.
Oh, it's a beautiful walk. Dustin's area up there is so pretty. I've walked that with you.
But you're just trying to figure out what to do with yourself. You're trying to you're like, well, now what is it? Like, I kind of feel like I know what you're talking about. It's like you're trying to find that next thing and it's not the same category.
Understand this. I've cracked some codes. I've shared it. You can make a funny little thing like this, put it on a hat, sell some hats. Crack that code. It's not that rough. Hopefully they're good designs. Hopefully they're fairly priced. They are. They're good construction, nice details, neat little things and stuff. But it's like, I take a lot of pride in that. But the temptation, the elixir to keep doing more and more and more is a motherfucker I've had to kind of beat up and just say, I can't keep going this rate. If you, and Dustin, when you said you saw a bunch of talks, thank you. I hope you had a good time. Because the last couple of talks, they've been getting even weirder. Instead of talking about doing this and making peace with that and being smart about that, I've been talking about the arc. And where are you at in the arc? Because you might be at your very highest earning potential right today, and you're in a nice home, and they like you, and you have cool shit in your office, and Brad's cool, and that's the riches.
Thanks.
That's the riches. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we might not be able to see that. And it's freaky to me. I moved into my shop here in 18. This is my 8th summer. 7 years I've been back here. So it's like, that is 1/8 of my life, 1/7 of my life. I was creative. I worked my ass off. We went through a pandemic. We did this, we did that, we did whatever. You can't look at it and say, well, I had a blink of an eye. No, it's just another awesome chapter. So I'm trying to look at the next one and saying, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to make more merch and more stuff? There's no room to even put it. Let's put it on sale. Let's move it out here. Let's be thankful for the arc that we had. Because my arc, I'm past that now. I'm making myself go past it. And now I'm going to learn to downshift and go in nature and do things and maybe get healthier and all these other things. It's really exciting, and it might not be about bestest, biggest, most money, earnest, whatever. Not to turn this into just a complete pile of shit, but you work out of fear a good part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you have babies and stuff, or had babies, and it's scary.
Long after you have to work out of fear, you're still working out of fear.
I mean, it's what is that fear? I see all the neat stuff behind you, and it's like, okay, we could find a couple things in there that, like, oh, maybe there was a Don Clark in there or something. Some little invisible creature. Are those guys making shit out of fear? I don't know. It doesn't look like it to me. It looks really cool. It looks, beautifully done. And like, God, there's stuff for the Bible. I want to look at the Bible now. That's weird for me, but it's so beautiful. It's like, it makes it, it's tricks you. It's really interesting. So, when people look in on me, it all looks like, fun and games and riff and raff. No, man, life is scary. Life is unfair. Life is harsh. Life is serrated. My buddy Dale, man, just a couple months ago, face of a pit bull, heart of a lion, a large heart. He passed away. Where does he go? If he's all around me right now, all the bad shit I've said about him in the last couple months, he's going to know. It's really weird. And yet, like when that happened, I made graphics for him, we made, a button, you can see his little face and stuff, and I made his little, I don't know where around here, his little memorial, to give to everybody. And I used design to say goodbye to my buddy. You know what I mean? And there's no money to be made. And I'm not going to, whatever. That's one of the greatest projects I've ever had in my life, and yet, yeah, nice design at the end too. Considering. So
I love that.
when you step back from all this stuff, it's like, okay, if I'm 51 and a half years old, that's why you saw me at the toy thing. Because when I told you guys the story about how I took my entire home, if you think of it like in a Disney, like a movie like Up, and you take it home and go like this, you go, and it just, all the little shit shakes out of one little corner hole into a little, overpriced Danish piece of porcelain, which I just bought Lee a very nice heart dish. It goes in this nice porcelain dish, and all that little Star Wars guns and weird little Lego bits and little things and zims and zams. These were just in dark corners of my entire existence. And that year ago whenever that was, when I saw you guys in the spring, I was at the tail end of like making peace with a lot of my space here and being like, wow, I didn't know it was in that corner. Now I know it's in that corner. And holy shit, I found a shoebox that had a couple Star Wars guns in it. I'm going to go get the guy that it went to, be done with it. But I got to the end of that. See what I'm saying? But I was open to like, what's the action figure world look like? I was a kid. I played with that stuff. What no one tells about the action figure world is you get into this stuff and you start seeing people getting all the mint shit in acrylic, in a box.
Oh yeah.
They have everything. And then there's these YouTubes where the guy's like, it's the real talk. The guy's like, my wife found out that I have $180,000 of Garanimal. It's either get rid of the Teddy Ruxpin collection or you're gone. He's having to get rid of it. And then he stops and he goes, I haven't even touched that, He-Man set. It's just been in plastic. What am I doing? And it's a weird synapse. It's a weird pressure. And it's a weird soothing of aging. And nostalgia, all this kind of shit, right? And I watched that and I was like, okay, I'm done with that. Still have all my Legos, I have all my Star Wars guys. But to go see that thing, I wanted to study the creatures that are in there. And by the way, at that toy show, it wasn't booth after booth of the stuff we love. It's a lot of like new Spider-Man shit, Venom and all that. That's what sells, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Funko.
A lot of 3D printed stuff. I was like, I thought this was a retro toy store.
That's a little bit
or toy
right?
expo.
I had a good time. I ate a hot dog, I think. I saw you guys. Talked to some other buddies. But you also got to see the side where, like, how are they making rent? You know what I mean? Like, how, they're going to sell some Funkos and shit. So, whatever I put that towards, like, we just did a skit here the other day. Went to this vintage toy store in Gresham. And I walked in, and these were on the wall, little ET, and they were $15. And I said, "Well, 15." He goes, "How about 10?" And I'm like, "I'll buy it for 15." I remember those. And we have a skit where he hands it, to me, and I already paid for it. And I go, "You'll do 10 on this?" He goes, "Yeah, 10." And I go, "Great." And I just rip the thing off, uncard it, all the value's gone. And the guy goes, "Oh, thanks." I go, "I'm going to play with it tonight." It's like, what are we doing?
Because then Coan. Yeah.
What are we doing? Like the package, I'll keep the package forever. I want to play with them, hearing all my junk, and that weird, intoxicating quality of like completionism, having to have everything. A wall of records. There's certain sections I haven't even touched in a while. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to squash a little bit of that and say, instead of conquest, I'm going to retreat. Instead of pushing forward, I'm going to make my stuff smaller, more refined, and then find the time to go walk tonight. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I love that.
So, God, next question. This is, what am I Brad? My God, I'm embarrassing. You were so nice to me when I met you. Crying on your shoulder like I did. I do want a dinosaur's guide. I do want one. So,
well, we'll make that happen.
Can I get 1,000 of them with a receipt?
Done and done.
Look at all these. Okay.
Oh,
it's on record.
Well, we do have a lot more questions. Dustin, how are you on time? I know you have places to be.
I have probably about 10 more minutes. I have my kids go back. They go meet their teachers tonight. So
So Oliver, my nephew, he's getting his photo. Okay, I'm sorry, you got to go. Okay, well here, let's condense them into like just get it. Go.
Rapid fire. Okay, Dustin? Do you have one? I was gonna just ask you a little bit about the what was the weirdest. Actually, you travel a lot. You do a lot of road tripping. Oh, you've lived a lot of places, but you also road trip all over the place. And that's something that's near and dear to me. I'd rather drive than fly because I find the weirdest, coolest things in between majors, 100 miles out of like any sort of like real city.
Oh, I love Patriot rally rallies, Patriot Front rallies. Those are cool. I know. Those are fun. And the guys who hide in the back of the right. Those are fun. Anyway, keep going.
Well, no, I was going to say, I found Clayton Lake, I think it was, in New Mexico, and there were footprints of dinosaurs that had got washed away in a mudslide, and you could go up and touch them. And and it's miles away from anything else. It was like 30 miles off the main road in the middle of nowhere, and it was the coolest thing. So for you, what would be your top spot that you've just hole in the wall? Either it could be a restaurant, it could be a place, it could be something that you found that nobody might have heard of that you would recommend.
Well, as of late in the last 5 or 6 years, it really used to just be the improbable nature of being able to drive from Michigan to Oregon and make it. But we've been really nerding out on like the Oregon Trail and what that really meant not that long ago. If I can remember 1978 and you go 100 years before that, it's only a couple 40 years issues. It's 3 more 40 years. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting. It's like, it's not that long ago to go stand in those little grooves, like Lee found where the grooves were. We were somewhere in Idaho on the way back. But as of late, maybe a couple of years ago, it's like Monument Valley, and those orange rocks. It's hard. It's well out of the way. Also, it's not funded. It's not funded. It's Navajo land, and it's not ours. It's it's on a res, and it's weird. You get hit up pretty hard, by people who are a little down their luck at the gas station, and then you go over some little zimzam, and you are in some of the most incredible prehistoric shit you ever saw in your life. Come on, meep. Wiley, whatever. And Roadrunners and shit.
Roadrunner,
and you're there, and you're in that stuff. That's amazing to go there.
Yeah.
Really, it's Southern Utah. It's really surreal to me. We went a couple years ago to Zion, and it was like, damn, those rocks are hundreds of millions of years old. There's a little sign there, and I just stood there as a 50-year-old or a 49-year-old or a 51-year-old, whatever the fuck it was. I was like, man, time and space, how humbling, how dare. So I got pretty busy these last 20 years trying to make a living in this stuff. I did it, whatever that means. But I better get busy living and figuring out what my next move is going to be. And it might be a non-move. Does that make sense? It's like not about going up. It might just be about, I'm clicking around your stuff, man, and I appreciate all these years. I see, I'm looking at some neat little bats, like you draw. And it's this is 2024 wrapped up, and it's like I want to draw little fun Bigfoot looking guys or creatures and bugs and shit. Now whatever that means, it's like maybe a year ago, Joby had a drawing night. I got to go. I want to go again. I only did it one time. It's called Drink and Draw because Brett.
Oh yeah.
Sitting there, Brett Stenson. And a couple buddies were there, and it was like I want to go I'd go every night. I've been trying to draw something each day. Sometimes I can't do it. Or just go sit in a stupid Starbucks and have a Starbucks and then sit and draw. And, you know, man. So, you know, when I think about that, it's like, I can come up with things like Pigeon Forge is fun. Because you can go find, you know,
yeah,
in the back corners of these tchotchke shops. Wall Drug, we just went through it.
Oh, that's so wild.
You know, a lot of Trump shit, and I'm instantly just like, you know, because they're making a buck. They're making a buck. If it was making fun of Biden or making fun of Trump, you know, either side, they're making a buck. It's, you know,
sure.
But, you know, I don't know. It's like the one time I went to Calgary to speak, and we went east about 15 miles, and these guys kind of had me like walk up to this vista with my head down, and I look up, and it is just wheat, perfectly straight, and then blue sky all the way up. It's just one bar of blue and one bar of wheat color, and it was so moving to me, because if you go the other way from Calgary, you go to Banff. Some of the most beautiful shit anywhere in the world. Sorry. You know, anywhere in the world, it's one of those spams. Anywhere in the world, they're the most extreme elevation and beauty and grandeur, and possibly North America. Back to the quietest, most surreal, almost like interstellar landscape or something. Very weird, you know. And just like, by the way, you keep going, you get to Saskatchewan. You know, after tripping across the mountain. So those are things that come to mind, you know. But
I love that.
I'm just less and less interested in going and getting caught in New York City.
Oh man, I'm never a fan, but that's just me.
It was really fun, exciting, because I get like a pair of Sauconys you never saw ever in your life. You know, like the old classic jazz. I do that, or go to an art store and get all these neat pens and pencils and shit. I'd never seen them before, but now you can kind of do it on your, you know, Dick Blick or Amazon or whatever you know. And
I went to the actual Dick Blick store. There's one, I forgot where it's at. It's in the middle of nowhere, but we were driving. I saw it and I pulled over, and it was like a warehouse, and it was awesome to see the store in person.
Well, have you been to? I mean, as a kid, I went to Pearl Paint off Canal in New York City, and it was like, that's where my cousin took me there, who's about 12 years older than I am. So that's where he went. That's where he went as a kid, and that's where I went at 23 and bought $60 worth of bullshit, and we'd sit and draw people on the subway. Well, that's what I've been kind of doing all these years later. I mean, there's no money to be made from it. I see how you guys are, you know, using illustration and cool stuff. It's like, you know, it's like I just want to enjoy getting kind of weird, you know, and seeing what happens, and just the pure, for the joy of it. That's it. Yeah. It's really interesting to me, because it goes against my fiber of sweating out. Like, we're coming into our busy season, you know, which means I got I've only done like 3 or 4 gigs this year. It used to be a lot more. One got me near my mom. One was really lucrative. One was really fun. You know, whatever. It's all over the map. But I used to do them all. Just used to do them all. It all added up. And I have about 4 coming up here. One's Adobe Max, which will be...
Oh, Dave Clayton was excited about that. He's like, oh, say hey to Dave for me. He's excited.
Check his papers, because we are... Take me back with him to Swindon, or whatever the hell it is. Well, no, that's what it is. That's his name of the place. But, you know, man...
Sounds like a song.
We're coming into this like busy thing, and we're going to be a lot of like loading the van, unloading the van, and there's a little pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? And we do good with that. But man, come January, I'm not doing shit for a while. January, February, it's going to be doing different kinds of things. Like the you know, it's getting darker at night, so it's harder to go walk. Like tonight, I have to be on the road by 7 if I want to get enough time in without stumbling through the roads where it gets dark. Maybe even 6:30.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's going to be 99 degrees, so it's harder to walk when it's 80
yeah,
degrees.
they got that heat advisory.
Right. So, like tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday, I go for my workout with my guys, so maybe I can take the walking off. So, you know, there's got to be something each day.
Yeah.
One thing I'm trying to learn. There's got to be somewhere where I'm like a little out of it, you know, each day. And, you know, what's the guy? What's he? You know, Matthew McConaughey. What's he say?
All right.
That guy, he made a quote very interesting, where it's like, just break a sweat each day. We've done this for hundreds of thousands of years. That's me adding something to it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can figure that
Sure.
out. Maybe it's just doing the recycling. Maybe it's doing whatever. So I'm trying to do that and change some shit. We'll see how it goes. But well, listen, Dustin, it sounds like you.
Awesome.
Should we do one more question? Because I'm so lonely, I'll just sit here all day. Do one more.
Well, you know what? I'm glad we got to talk a little while longer, because I love hearing you talk about like a different thing. I don't know. Like, you can just tell there's a different vibe in how you're talking about everything.
Oh,
I do
yeah.
have one other question.
Maybe Aaron will just play us out.
This one's called number 6. Don't put that in. Don't. Armin Vitt didn't say that, did he?
He definitely did not. He told us how to be a better grocery shopper.
Sorry, what was the last question? Then I'll do it and we'll get the hell out of it.
All right. I'm going to try to make this a little hard on you. All right. So when you think of the word successful, I know your brain's already gone. I know people ask you this, but when you think of the word successful, who is the first person who comes to mind and why? But not graphic designer, not, I don't mean that kind of person, especially because you've been talking about kind of finding different things in life at this point. It seems like you're kind of starting to look in a little different direction.
Yeah.
Who are some new people that you're thinking to yourself, maybe that's what a successful person looks like in this time?
There's a lot of sinew attached to it, because it's going to make me sound shitty, but there's people I'll look at and then you realize there's like family money involved. And you're like
who are you referring to? Like, what do you think? Who are you thinking of?
Oh, as a buddy that like lives a really chill existence. And another buddy just told me, he's a rich kid. And I never knew that, because I know him from invention, and he knows exactly what I did. And that's not what he told us. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, because it's like, we don't put that in there, because I'll just tell you guys, it's just a weird thing, because it's like, you motherfucker, man, you saw me go without.
Oh, sure.
I made sure you were okay when you went without. You didn't even need to go without. We're coming to find out. What are you talking about? It's just a weird thing, It's like a weird thing. Okay, but to try to answer your question, because it's an, I don't know. It's like, when I say it's like all connected with like cardiovascular, like you see those things of 3D models. There's too many little ventricles and little capillaries and shit to just say, oh, here's the one way to get blood to the heart. It's so many off ramps. It's like, but it's people that have built their own home, like built with their hands, their own existence, small, medium, large, modern, or whatever. They can just own that. That's a really beautiful thing to me. I'm not a home builder. I don't know how to do it. It's really interesting to me. Is that success? No, you know how the light, you can go fix the light if it breaks. Because I am neutered in some of those respects. Like right now, I think I was washing out my Lamy fountain pens, and I dropped a nib, little tiny nib fountain pen.
Yeah.
And I just flushed it. I flushed it. Shit, I'm not going to get it out of there. It's a $7 nib. Let it go. It might have got down into the thing, and it grinded it, and our little trash, it's like, it's leaking. So I could probably go figure out how to fix it, but you got to do this stuff with the pipes and things. No, I'm going to call a buddy. He does it, and he'll know how to do it. I'd rather give him a couple $100 for the thing and $100 to help me. But there's something about the agency of being able to say, I can fix my computer every time it gets screwed up. You Google things, you look at things, you do diagnostics. Like I can figure it out myself. I don't have to get on the phone with Apple. That's a weird thing, I'm really proud of that, because this is the chassis that I, rip around the world in, sitting in this cockpit. And when you leave this thing, it's like, I want to know how to build. I want to know how to, like, by the way, we've been doing yard work, and I am wrecked after it, because it's like 3 hours of raking and sweeping and shit. But I really enjoy it.
You like the feel when you're done, though?
Just like, well, maybe no, because my back hurts and shit. But it's more like, I did that with my hands. I didn't hire a crew and just throw money at it. Wait, I could have got 2 hours back. Goes back to this. Years ago, a buddy was like, you're making money. get them made. Come on, man. You know, I understand. I'm not saying it's bad. There's microeconomies everywhere we look. But I take a weird pride to trying to keep things cool around the shop or in my bedroom or whatever. You know, Lee keeps a tight ship, man, you know, and I'm really thankful for that. So it's like, I just think of like, what's success mean? It's definitely not a bunch of money in the bank. I did okay. I have some money in the bank. Doesn't mean you piss it away. I will wear the holes in this thing until it's dead, you know, and that's a Fugaziism. You know, that's what I learned from those guys. You only need a couple. I mean, I have 19 hats, but you'll see photos of Ian MacKay. He's wearing the same little beanie over and over and over again. And they made a lot of money. But the shift, the vision is different. The vision is different. They're not looking at it that way. There's something perfect about that, you know, in front of a wall of records. But, you know, I mean, I have a lot of guitars, you know, I've been able to buy what I like and stuff. So, you know, the scary part about the successful thing is I'm just going to tell the story, and if it gets me in trouble, then fucking whatever. But a 100.
Why stop now? Yeah, no, don't apply a filter now at the last question.
100 millionaire hit me up about a project about a year ago, and it would have been a sizable job. And I got on the phone. And to this day, I don't know what he made. I don't know what product that was even going to be work. I just don't even remember the name of the app. I don't remember what it did. I didn't understand what it did. I was told what it did, and it was some kind of back-end coding. I don't know. And what am I going to bring to the table? You're going to bring humanity, Draplin. You can talk, you can laugh. No, I'm not. I'll make you a merch kit with field notes and funny little things. But why do you have 100 million in the bank and the 3 people that we're sitting here on the phone with don't? I Googled you. Why are you working all night like this? See?
Yeah.
And it freaked me out. It freaked me out. What are you doing? Well, they're tech people. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. It's too weird. They have servants. They have fucking houses.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, it's not apples to apples. You know, if my buddies call me and they need help with their record cover, it's kind of apples to apples. And maybe I don't make as much money. I don't care. So, you know, success is a weird thing. It's like, that guy's got everything. I would have fucking quit years ago. Because you can take you can take 97 million off that 100 million and be okay. He's 44 years old. How much do you need? How much can you even spend in a day? And where's it even going to sit? You know, we're going to change our lives to, why aren't you in Monaco right now traveling on a boat or traveling on a camel or something off?
Exactly right.
What are you doing here telling me about Skrizzles and Wiggles and Flickenboggles and whatever the fuck it was? I don't even know what it was. And it was just gross. And it was just like, well, and I get off the phone and I talk to you know, whoever's like attached, and I go, what the fuck was that? And she's like, I don't even know either. You know, I have a good job with them. Not interested. So I just was very gentle and said, you guys, I'm not the right guy for this. You want me to make you a fun merch poster or something? I'll do that. But come on. You know, I don't even know so weird. So, you know, people who love their lives, people who, you know, may not have a big house, but you love the house you have. That's a different kind of success. So you know, I've met a couple people. A long time ago, I met one of the guys from Twitter who wasn't quite Jack, but it was one of them at a thing here called XOXO Fest. And my buddy was like, you see this, you know, Ethan, whatever the fuck, I don't even know the guy's name, whatever. He was kind of a tech guy, you know, and he was like, that dude's worth like $600 million.
Jeez.
I was like, the fuck? I got better shoes on than he does. What is he doing here? Why even? What are you doing? You know, like,
I would not be there.
Okay, you want to work all night? Give it all away and go do it again and help some people. You know, what are you doing? I just don't understand. You know, it's really kind of weird and fleeting. And it's like, we were talking about field notes, me and this guy. Well, he's probably interested now. Here I am, like, $12.95, sir. You know, trying to make a sale. This guy's got the GDP of all of Washington and whatever the hell it is. I mean, you guys have a bigger GDP than we do, probably. Anyway, well, Yeah, I don't know. That's all being skewed because it's always been skewed. Because I saw, okay, how about this? When I went to Nike 20 years ago, I saw the guys who made 400 grand a year as big art directors.
I mean, really, it is big though, like
It is big.
Isn't that a lot of money? Isn't that a lot of money? That's a lot of money, 400 grand, right? And I was like, that little piece of bait, you can put them on a hook and cast them out and make something interesting. That thing makes 400. And I said, what about you guys? These are all a bunch of buddies, t-shirt designer guys. That's where you start out there, And they made 40 grand a piece. And they were thankful to be there. And I was like, that guy makes 10 times what you make. Like, what's interesting? No one sits with him at lunch. You guys were all sitting together bullshit.
Interesting.
Oh, Well, I met him. And he definitely big leagued me. Definitely. I've made more than that fucker many times. And I need to go measure with him. I could hang with the 40,000ers and be buds. Still buddies with those guys to this day. But the act was different. You know what I mean? Yeah. So whatever. I remember he got this big house and he couldn't even keep it clean. I heard that's real. I got a shitty little house. Once a year I find Star Wars guns. That's my life.
Which rapper was it that said that I saw an interview and he was saying, they asked why he downsized from his mega mansion. And he goes, when you have he's like, have you ever had that feeling where you don't know, there's wings of my house I've never been in and I'm scared to go down the hallway. He sold his house because he was scared that it was just too big for him. He didn't know what was going on in it and he downsized. And I was like, wow, those problems. I kind of killed for those problems.
I feel like it's like chasing, it's like the cat chasing the mouse. They don't ever expect to catch it. And then they catch it. And then there's these second order and third order problems that you never considered. And you never thought you'd actually catch the mouse.
Yeah.
Well, I remember a buddy telling me a story of a big Nike guy that bought this big honking place and it rains here. And what happens when you don't live in a room? It goes back to nature in some respect. He wasn't checking up on it. The breathing and in and out of just breath, it lights, I don't know if I'm even right or wrong, but he had these water problems in the corner and they had to hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix this $1 million house or something. That's real. Never went in that corner. Just never went to that side of the place. Like an entire wing of a thing. And that's fine if you want this big, awesome thing, but you're a single guy who's making a lot of money. What are you doing? What do you even need that for? See, that's what some of these, obviously circumstances growing up of my parents not being able to do everything for us. But what we had? We had them. And we had discipline and a funny dad and cool mom, and we had that. And we didn't have everything, but it didn't matter, and I try to glean off that stuff because it's easy to get lost in the chase. It's easy to get, what are we doing? And we're chasing this shit. I'm just trying to get free so I can sleep in more and do more things and free those around me. And we're getting close. Dude, we're getting close.
I was just going to say at the beginning of the conversation, you talked about freedom. You're like, when I was young, I was like, I just want freedom. It wasn't about trying to find success as much as just freedom. And then everything you're saying at the end was it's like the freedom is almost like knowing when to stop and say, I have enough. I've had my fill. It's time to now continue.
I don't have a good answer for what I'm about to say because it's very abstract, but it's I met a guy a long time ago who said, I've told this story many, many times, but it's Draplin, you have what it takes to go do freelance from your home. And I said, he goes, you don't have to be in these offices with these things, climbing ladders and shit. You've got something. You got a talent. All this merch you make, all these things. What are these field? He was, he's really cool. It was that's what helped me go on my own. It was scary, but his success at that time, it was small. He made enough to where he could take his kids to class and pick them up at the end of the day. He only would work 6 or 5 hours. Didn't have to work 8 hours. I was in there till midnight sometimes playing a game. My salary never went up,
Yeah.
They pay you exactly what they have to. It's not even the guy's fault. That's just business. And when I got away from that shit, I didn't have children to pick up. Then I could work all night if I wanted. That's when shit took off. I don't. It's not apples to oranges to oranges to bananas. Is it luck? I don't know. Let's wrap this fucker up, Draplin. I know. I'm trying, but it's like his success was that he controlled his day, not some TPS report turd looking over his thing going, no, you can't. We used to have to sneak out of this place I worked at. I won't tell you about it, but it's like, if the guy saw you, you're staying a couple more hours. We're leaving when you're supposed to leave. But people would crouch and hide and get out of there, and all of a sudden you hear a slam, and they're off to their car, and they're going to Pilates. But I just would kind of get right out in front of it and just say, I'm going home. I worked all day, man. I'm tired, or whatever. It's just, to get to success, I found it. What does it mean? It doesn't mean I can just go do whatever I want, but it means, if I want a stupid little ET for $10, I can pop for it. No problem. Or take care of, my mom was just here. It's tax time coming up in northern Michigan where she's at, and I got to cover her taxes. Kicking the old teeth, but I got her covered. My mom's 80. So
that's amazing.
Is that success? I don't know. Does it hurt the old pocketbook? It does. But like I said, things go and come and go, and hopefully over the course of the whatever, you just get to a point where you peak and you go, now I'm gonna start using this until I die. As I used to say, at the edge of the woods in a pile of brush, and going down there with their dog, what the? Oh, that's Aaron Draplin. He died he didn't even have the respect for humanity to go into the woods to die. He's in a pile of brush just at the.
Just on the side out for everyone to see.
Anyway, all right, let's wrap this up. You got to go do some dad stuff. You guys, please make me sound smart and whatever. And thanks for the time. It was fun to chat. Next time, fuck all this talk. Just bring your asses down to the shop, and we'll give you. Brad will hose all the COVID off you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll towel you off personally, and then we'll get you some little sweatpants, and you can run around the shop. And you come and see the shop, and yeah. But
well, I appreciate that offer. No, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm having some issues with my video, but I've been looking forward to this for a while, and you're a real one, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope to the 77,000 listeners that you guys had a good time, and to the 7 people who listen to this, thank you for listening to us.
There you go. That's more accurate.
Wally, Chainsaw, 2-Bit, Petunia, I'm Jordan Wong, and I'm trying to think, and Justin and Brad, and maybe some children. Thank you.
Alrighty, thanks so much, Aaron.
See you guys.
If you're getting value from these conversations, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get bonus content, early access to episodes, and help us keep bringing you the honest stories from creatives who figured it out. Check it out at patreon.com/